So let's now put our knowledge to practice. And let's write together, through a guided practice, a 4-part chorale. We'll use a very famous poem that's been set to a very simple melody. And we'll do this in 3 parts. The first part is a phrase that's already been completed, and what I'll do is analyze the voice leading from chord to chord so that you can see what the phrase should look like for 4-part writing, and it provides you a model. Second phrase, we'll do chord by chord. You'll write down your solution for the following chord. I'll put down the solution myself, explain it, and we'll move on to the next chord. And in the final phrase, what you do is complete it yourself, and then check the solution to check your own work. Okay, so first step is to look at this first phrase. Let me play it once so that you can hear it, and then we'll talk about it, about the voice leading and the harmonic progression. Okay. Well, we're clearly in B flat. Key signatures suggest B flat. First chord is B flat. We have this 5/1 cadence. It's B flat. So that means this is going to be, let's first put in the Roman numeral analysis. I'm going to do Roman numeral analysis in not a traditional way. This should all usually be underneath. I'm going to put it on the top because that's how I've put it here. And it's easier that way, because if I put it down below, then I have to put in lots of rests here, and then when you go to put in notes, they get deleted, and so it's just easier to put it on top. 1 and 1. I'm going to do this quickly. Whoops, sorry, wrong key. 4, 1, 1. 4, 5, and that's 5, and 1. Let's listen one more time, knowing now. And let's look at what's going on here. Okay, well, we have a 1 chord. The next chord is also 1, but we see some notes have moved. This isn't something we've talked about yet, so I wanted to show it as an option. Well, one of the ways to move in a harmonic progression, even though the harmony doesn't change, the voicing can change. And what do we see happening here? Well, we keep the same bass note. This goes up to the next chord tone, this goes up to the next chord tone, this goes up to the next chord tone. So it's almost like these upper 3 notes, they just go up to the next chord tone. Now, you don't have to just go up to the next chord tone. It depends on what happens in the melody and how it would be best to voice it. But in this case, it makes the most sense to voice it with just everyone going to the next chord tone. Understand that when you have the same harmony, but your melody note changes, changing the voicing is often a very smart thing to do. Okay, now we go from 1 to 4, which means we have to choose whether we're going to do a common tone approach or a non-common tone approach. And it's pretty clear from here, while we move the bass to the root, and this stays the same. So we have a common tone approach here. These 2 voices move by step. And we just do the reverse, yeah? We want to go back to 1, so we keep the common tone, move the bass where it needs to go, and then here, move these voices by step. We have a repetition. Then the melody note drops down to here, and it leaves us kind of, well, I guess we could, it leaves us a little bit stuck. Let me show you why. Okay, well, we could keep the common tone, and we could move that there. And you might say, okay, that looks pretty good, but what's the problem? Let's look at our voices. We have 1 root, 2 fifths, and 1/3. So that's not ideal. I think it's better to actually have 2 roots, 1/3 and 1/5. especially at this stage, in a very simple texture where all of the voices and the voice leading is very exposed. Here I think it's best to try to have the two roots, the third and the fifth. Well, okay, we see the bass goes up, so let's use the non-common tone approach, move everybody down to the next chord tone. Okay, now we have 4 to 5. What do we do when we go from 4 to 5? That is, what do we do when we go from one chord to the next chord and they're a second apart? Well, we try to get contrary motion in there. We move the bass first, try to get contrary motion, see if we can do that. Move all the other voices in contrary motion to the closest chord tone. And that's exactly what we do here, and it works. We get two roots. Yes, they're the same note, but it is two voices singing the same note, so it counts as two roots. We've got the third and we've got the fifth. We take an opportunity here to revoice, and this is one of the things that you can use these, the revoicing to do. We switch from this very, well, it's not closed, but this very more closer voicing to this thing that's much more spread out. And note that this is forced by the melody. You see so you say, well, why did we have to do this? Well, the melody went up to this note and the harmony didn't change, which means we have to think about revoicing the chord. We get this nice, broad, full sound at this chord. And then, well, how shall we move to the next chord? When I was voicing this, it made the most sense to do the non-common tone approach. So looking at the voice leading, we move this down. So the bass goes up, so we move the other voices down to the closest chord tone. Why don't you take a second to review that, look at it and think a little bit about that, and then we'll pick up with doing the voicing for these chords here. I guess we'll do the all three bars, all three measures here.